Have thumbs up? We have thumbs up. We're ready to go. We invite you to participate. This is public participation, and we have the first speaker today is Pierre Louis, or Pierre Louis. Sorry if I messed that up.
That's fine.
Monsieur.
Louis. Good morning to the chamber and to all that's here, and to my first boss right there, Mr. Davis. I'll speak very briefly. Also, I am the president of the Military Officers Association. Spent 30 years in the Marine Corps. I was instrumental with the Veterans Memorial Bridge with Josh Wagner when I was there. I served the entire time, that 2 years time. But the reason I'm here in this capacity is more to an information, if nothing else. Our chapter has begun some fundraising efforts to support the Memorial Plaza. We have a GoFundMe page we put on our site. We have, we're getting the word out to everybody because we know that some of the funds have already been expended for the bridge itself. However, the Memorial Plaza, the one that's on the north side of that, we know that there's a $1.2 million effort to support that. I guess some of the funds are going to be held in escrow. We have raised some money so far, but what we're looking for, as I've talked to one of my colleague here, Jeff, about too, is that after we raise the funds or similar to that process, what do we do with the money? How do we get that connection, and how do we get that information out to not only to the county, but to a lot more of the veterans organizations? This last weekend, on Friday and Saturday, I spoke at a Veterans Council meeting in Orlando. In that particular meeting, what we were doing was drumming up support to see what veterans organizations can put money towards that to support the county's effort in that Memorial Plaza. I also spoke at the Volusia County Veterans Council. I'm on that board also, well, not on that chamber also, and we talked about what can we do to continue to support, because we really want to make sure that the Memorial Plaza continues to get funded, and we can put forth whatever effort that we can. So I'm here in a volunteer capacity also. So if there's things that we can do to get together to say what we need to do to support that plaza, that's why I'm here today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank
you. Next speaker is Sharon. Sharon Stafford. Oh, here she comes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sharon, you have 3 minutes to tell us what's on your mind. I bet you can do it.
It's going to be short. Good morning. My name is Sharon Stafford. I'm in Orange City, and I'm here to ask for some assistance with the unveiling of the Coleman marker, the historic marker that's going to be unveiled on February the 25th. If you know, the building that they're going to unveil it needs some sprucing up, some beautification.
Okay.
Where they anticipating putting the marker at, which is also the old Coleman's Head Start Center.
Right.
I want to see if you could either paint it or pressure wash it prior to that time, because when we went, where they're going to place it at, it's a sore eye. And I know what we all about is beautification, and we know it's going to be a lot of photos being there because it is a historic site. So I want to come to you to see if it's any way possible that we can have it either pressure wash or painted prior to that time so that the beautification will run on.
Since you haven't used your time up, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you'll send me an email, it's ekelly@volusia.org.
Okay.
I'll see if we can't make that happen. Okay? Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
He doesn't need to speak there.
Okay. Julius, you're good?
Yeah. He's good.
Thank you very much. And now we will move to Karen Clark.
Hello, Karen Clark, 1855 Grand Avenue up in Glenwood. My question is it possible that the people that are on the Animal Control Advisory Board, today I noticed, because I read the agendas all the time, that there's a dangerous dog element that's going to be addressed on item number 2. Is there any way, even though it's not a board issue, anything related to animals, can we get notified on that? Is that a possibility? Because while it's in the works, all of us have networking and other abilities that we may be able to assist. I know it's the legal end, but we have the pulse on the animal world. And I just was wondering why like I said, I watch all the agendas.
Okay, and I got this information last week, and I know we're not supposed to do this, but I will because I like to get things solved. This is just to get us in line with state law.
Exactly.
And having you to input on that, I don't see of a
No,
value.
it wouldn't be so much as to input,
So,
but then
we're
you
not
would
gonna-
be able
we're-
to
Karen,
contribute something.
let's don't dialogue. I'm just telling you, I'm gonna be nice and just say,
Yes.
there's nothing that you could have done had it even gone to the board. That was not necessary in this instance, but anything that has to do with that, you certainly should be aware of. But all we're doing is creating the comply with state law.
So you're all level in all the counties, but we still probably would have loved that because.
But
a
you'll
lot of
find out
other
today.
people do that. I know.
All right. Thank you, Karen.
Okay.
Okay. Is that it?
No other slips.
No other speakers? Is anyone else that wanted to speak? I'll give you a chance. Thank you very much, and we will hold off on anything else until we start the meeting at 9 o'clock. To the February 2nd, 2017 meeting of the Volusia County Council. Can we have the roll call, please?
Mr. Yes, sir?
Well, first, I guess we need to do the invocation. I thought we did the roll call first, right?
Yes, sir.
We will now do the invocation. I had turned on the wrong page. So today the invocation will be given by Reverend Brian Garrison, rector of the St. Barnabas Episcopal Church and School in DeLand. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for letting
I'll
me
stand,
pray with
followed
you.
by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the pleasure and the opportunity of serving you here in this county, in this city. And Lord, we ask that you would give us wisdom, give this council discernment, Lord, that their decisions would be honoring to you and serving to our people. Come and fill them with your presence and give them your peace that passes all understanding. Be with all of our citizens and guide them in the way of truth, in the way of life, in the way of joy. We give you thanks and praise for this day and for this opportunity of being here before you through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
You're going to give it. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for the blessings.
And now we'll go to the roll call.
Thank you. Mr. Lowry?
Ooh, I'm first. Here.
Mr. Patterson?
Ooh, I'm second.
Ms. Post, you're third.
Here.
Ms. Wheeler? Ms. Cusack? Ms. Denny's?
Here.
Mr. Kelly?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to pull any item on the consent agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Is there a second? Second. Motion made by Councilman Chair Denny's. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The motion carries unanimous. We will now move to one of the fun parts of being here, and that is the NCAA championship. No? Sorry.
Looks like it.
Maybe this is the Super Bowl trophy we're viewing in advance. Sorry. Joanne, you have something for us.
All right, good morning.
Thank you.
Joanne Magley, Community Information Director, and this is a sought-after trophy. This is the trophy for the annual Feed the Need food drive. As you know, the Feed the Need is a friendly competition among public employees throughout Volusia County, the cities. It was another record-setting year for 2016. As a result, it netted 184,000 pounds of food, which is another record year after year. So it also resulted in a new winner. The Schoolway Cafe employees collected 23,367 pounds of food. And with 307 full-time employees, that equaled out to 76.11 pounds of food per employee. So now at this time, I'd like to ask Schoolway Cafe is one of the representatives, if you could please come forward. And he's going to just say a few words before we present him with this trophy.
Good morning. County Chair Kelly, council members, and distinguished guests. It's a pleasure to be here this morning representing Schoolway Cafe. I want to tell you a little story. For the past 10 years, Schoolway Cafe employees have been collecting food for various food banks within Volusia County. It started out with a few food banks. Now we're up to 5. Last 2 years, last year we also started collaborating and joining the Feed the Need project. We now have 5 food banks, which include the Salvation Army of DeLand, the Neighborhood Center of DeLand, Student Reach Out in DeBerry, Halifax Urban Ministries, and the Jewish Federation. Each of those 5 food banks split the 23,367 pounds of food this year. It took a lot of effort for our schools to do that. And we want to thank our managers, our school administrators for helping us collect all this food. It was a great time, and we're ready to do it again next year. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Thank you. And now.
I might need your help. Really heavy. There you go, and I'll get on this side. All right, now you can go around front and take a picture with the county council.
Thank you.
Okay? Or do you want to,
I-
sorry.
I thought Jeff had said, however you want to do it.
We're going to do it right now.
Just right there?
Yep.
That's perfect.
We just need members behind.
There he is.
Okay. We'll take two with this camera. On 3, 1, 2, 3. And one more, please. On 3, 1, 2, 3. And one moment, please. You got it?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And we'll expect more next year. Thank you, Joanne. We'll now move to item 2. This is a public hearing. We'll call the public hearing to order, open the public hearing, and this is an ordinance 2017-02, amending section 14-40 of the county code relating to dangerous dogs for consistency with recently amended Florida statutes. And just to expand that just a little bit, this is just to bring our ordinance that's currently on the books in compliance with state law. Any questions, discussion? All in favor? We need to bring it to the floor. I need a motion.
Is there any public input, sir? Is there any public input?
No public participation? Well, I can't give it if it isn't here. Sorry.
I didn't want to interrupt you while you were speaking.
That's all right.
Is it you again?
I thought, Karen.
Hi, Karen Clark, 1855
State,
Grand.
state your name and address.
Karen Clark, 1855 Grand Avenue in Glenwood. I want to thank this county for getting up to code in the state of Florida with one additional thing that's very important, where it says the threat, injury, or damage was sustained by a person who at the time was unlawfully on your property or who, while lawfully on the property, was tormenting, abusing, or assaulting the dog or its owner or family member. I want to thank you for including that because there's so many people that torment animals from the street and then finally one day they get their due. But at least now the dog is not going to be hopefully classified as an animal, a dangerous dog, because they got a chance to get away from that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan, did you have anything to say on this? Or are you
No,
okay?
sir.
Okay.
Other than some council members may not be familiar with Michael Rodriguez. He's an assistant county attorney and available to answer any questions that you may have.
Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The motion carries unanimous, and with that, we will close the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, who made the motion and seconded it, please?
Well, that's what I asked, and somebody said it's already been done, so I didn't recall making a motion,
Move approval. Move
and somebody said we already had it, so I proceeded onward. I think the record would show. We now
And-
have a
and-
motion and second.
Second by,
Uh,
thank you.
Ms. Wheeler? Is there any further discussion or question? Ms. Denny? Oh, there you are.
Thank you. Just one comment on how we coordinate this within the county. We talked about this at our staff meeting. Want to make sure that we have all the files, not just for this ordinance, this resolution, but when we go to court with challenges, because there has been a history here. And I just want to make sure that those dogs that should be deemed dangerous are deemed dangerous. And we need to strengthen that too. This is a good resolution, but at the same time, we need to literally put some teeth into the enforcement of it and protect the citizens and animals that have been subject to dangerous dogs. There's a reason that we have this. So I'm just going on the record with that because I'm going to pursue something here along these lines.
Yes, ma'am. We understand your concern with the conduct of one hearing, and we've heard you loud and clear.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Patterson, your name came off, but
Yeah, I was going to make the motion, but somebody was ahead of me. So.
okay. And we've now gone and done that, so we've closed the public hearing. We'll move to item 3, and we'll go to Mr. Deneen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If Ms. Lloyd Campbell Baker would come to the microphone. What we have today is Halifax Area Advertising Authority is requesting, really it's an appropriation of a fund balance that they have. She'll explain that. The thing that I think is the most important is knowing how far we've come over the years and how contentious this used to be in our relationship with Halifax Advertising Authority. The fact that we are at this point now where the process is seamless and transparent to the council and how money is used is, I think, bodes well for us going into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I make a point of order? We're
Sure.
a little ahead of the time certain. I don't know if that's a problem or not. It's a 9:15 item, and we're only talking 4 minutes, but is that a problem?
Technically, I think it is.
Yeah,
You can't.
I
you
should
have to sit
sit down. Okay.
Everybody grab a donut and for 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever, I guess. I just wanted to be careful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Everyone just relax and talk, and it shows that we are moving things along. Council, please. We will move to item 10. This is the reinstatement of Theodore G. Yates or appointment of tourist DDC. Nomination any council member may make it. I have a motion to nominate an applicant for the TDC. Mr. Yates. Motion to approve. Reinstatement. Is there a second? Motion made by Mrs. Wheeler and seconded by Mr. Lowry. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign, and the motion carries.
Do you want to go back to item 9, which was, you can also do?
We can go back to item, I think 9 had a time certain, didn't it? Yeah. Item 9 had time certain.
Okay.
So we will move to, now we can let you start walking, but you can't talk until 9:15. I know you can walk and chew gum at the same time.
What if I talk about unrelated things?
Everything else that you do, so I have no fear of that.
How was a Rolex? How about that?
It was fantastic. It was fantastic. We're getting some, Bob puts out the feelers to the hotel properties, and they had a really good weekend. And I have to put in a plug, if you haven't yet seen the NASCAR driver Danica Patrick videos, check out
A video out there.
DaytonaBeach.com. We've got all of them posted. They're so good. She loves Daytona Beach and Volusia County and has since she was a kid. So it's been a great partnership.
We're getting close. We're counting the seconds down to launch time here.
I love that you use that word launch, Mr. Chair. We're going to talk about that.
I love launching, and I think we have about
Oh, I'm going to like that.
I'm guessing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we are. It's 9:15.
Very good. So as you know, we're in front of you today to talk about money that is currently sitting in reserves and not currently promoting the area. So we want to move that money out of reserves. We just had our clean audit with James Moore. So now we have all of that mapped out. Sean's going to be my driver here. Oh. Sean's going to run through your agenda.
We'll get out of here early. Keep going.
I know. You're in a blinding pace. So the audited reserves you see at the top, and I know you have this from before, our total commitments and our 12% that we will keep on hand as a fund balance leaves us with today's request, which is $572,275. With that,
even that's a time certain.
we want to put that immediately into work for the destination. These markets are not going to look unfamiliar to you. These are markets that are very strong for us. You'll notice that we are also emphasizing Canada. You know, the exchange rate has been a challenge for us, so we want to keep some love going to Canada and remind them why they love coming to Volusia County. The target demographics are the same ones that you'll see. These are the placements, and I think last time we went over the different types of advertising, but the total commitment on this side, the consumer ads, is $340,000. In addition to that, we want to support the airline markets. Jake Hassens and I will be attending the Routes 2017 conference in a couple of weeks. The idea here is to commit $143,000 two additional routes, 143,798. So hopefully lining up some new routes or additional routes coming right into Daytona Beach International. If toward the end of the fiscal year we found that we haven't added new routes to that, that's okay too, because we still have plenty of energy behind Atlanta, Charlotte, and JFK. One of the great things that we heard during our focus groups in September, and you have all the results from that, is they'd love to see more of what we have to see and do throughout the county. So through Paradise, our ad agency, we are going to do a video shoot that will allow us to take those pieces and put them into our paid and other digital outlets. The great news is we reached out to Southeast and West Volusia and found that they too had some of their favorite shots. We'll all be working together in integrating those. So, you know, manatees and trails, beaches and shopping, that kind of thing. So that will be a $50,977 content production. We'll add more to that, but that'll come out of another budget that's already been allocated. And group sales is so important to us. So the National Cheerleading Association, as you know, is huge for Volusia County, the Ocean Center, and the entire area. So, and we also have other destinations that are wooing this group. So we want to put a little extra love toward NCA. In addition, look at our New York City market. You know, we have memberships with MPI, which is Meeting Planners International. So we're going to beef that up a bit. Look at a trade sales mission and a FAM with JetBlue around the January races at the Speedway. And then the Carolinas, North and South Carolina, more emphasis on Canada, and also sports, as you know, very, very important to us, just in terms of the facilities that we have and the ways that we can book them. So we're going to reach out in the Orlando, Jacksonville, and Tampa markets to get additional business there. This is the overview of all of these funds. And just to let you know, in the audience is HAW Board Chair Mike Cardos, of course, Bob Davis, who is the voice of Volusia County, and Sean Abatessa, Linda McMahon, and Trish Ruffino from the CVB staff. That's all I got, short and sweet.
Questions?
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. We're
Mr.
having
Patterson.
fun. Mr. Chair, I move approval of the expenditure, approving the expenditure for the Halifax Area Advertising Authority fund balance of $572,275. $572,275. $275.
Second, Ms. Wheeler. Any discussion, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The motion carries unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having that access and being able to spend it in a very timely and efficient manner.
Thank you.
And since we can't start anything else for 5 minutes, Mr. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, we can do the following. Those things that require, Dan and I talked, those things that do not require action by you, we can move ahead. What I would suggest is that we have two things that we can talk about.
The marketing or the...
Well, one of them is the community update that Joanne would give. That's item 11. I'll have her come to the microphone if you'd like for that.
Is she here?
And she's here.
Joanne, are you here? She is here.
And as she comes up, it gives you, because I want to make sure that we're following that process. The next thing is that she can give you the update on the half marathon along with her staff.
I was ready to say, gentlemen, start your engines, but I'm not sure that would be really appropriate.
Thank you for making that quick change. I'm sure that you next year might be able to qualify to be a participant in the Rolex 24, since they have to change drivers and probably uniforms and things quickly. So, Joanne, we're on item 11, I guess, at this time. Thank you.
Well, first, Joanne Magley, Community Information Director, and as Mr. Dean mentioned with the community events, our goal every 2 weeks at the County Council meeting is to bring you the list of the events that are new for your calendar that we have planned as county government for public events. For this council meeting, we did not have anything new to add to the calendar, so you don't have anything today. But hopefully, or as we do our planning, next council meeting, when something new comes up, you will see that event sheet, and it'll be highlighted, whatever new event has popped up since the last time you saw it.
Also, what I'd like to mention is, because a lot of these, there's so many of these events, this also is your time. You'll know every 2 weeks that if you have a specific question, something comes up and you want to know something about an event, or you're trying to figure out whether you're going to go, here would be an opportunity also to clarify, and then you also know what other council members might be doing if they're going to the event also. So this is an opportunity. In this case, we didn't have any new ones, but in a lot of cases we will, so this will be the process we follow. It's a new process. And with that, Ms. Chair, she can go to the other item if you'd like.
Okay, so I do have a couple more team members from our race team on their way to the chamber, so they'll be joining me in just a second. But again, we're in our racing suits because it's a preview for the Daytona Beach Half Marathon, which of course is Sunday. And oh, here comes that pit crew now. So, you know, the theme, of course, Speedway, Beach and Back, and we have a racing theme throughout the course. So people like us who are managing the team, this is Shelly Safranek, Kate Stark, we're working on the half marathon, course marshals who are helping direct the traffic, they're all dressed like this to keep that racing theme going. We have historic race cars throughout the course. We have a real race car at the track to rev up and get the crowd started before the race starts. So again, the course starts at the Speedway. It goes down through the neighborhood of the Orange Avenue area. It goes in front of Jackie Robinson Park. If you're doing the relay, that's the relay switch point. If you're not doing the relay, then you go over the Intercoastal Bridge, or some people doing the relay have to go over the bridge anyway. Over the bridge, run a small section on the hard-packed sand, and then come all the way back on International Speedway. So it's a great course, and the weather forecast is great this year compared to last year when it was really cold and rainy. We have lows in the 50s at the start of the race and warming up to the mid-70s by when the celebration begins. And we're on pace to match the participants we had last year. And as Mr. Deneen has said, you know, the goal of the half marathon, we really feel that this has a lot of potential to just build exponentially over the years, like larger marathons that you see in cities, because we have a great venue and partner in the Daytona Beach and the Daytona International Speedway, and they can grow to as big as we need to. There's no limits for the size of the crowds that they can handle there, so that's great. We have a couple of little props we want to show off because we're excited about it. You can hold up the towel. So this is a towel that all of the relay and half marathon finishers receive when they cross the finish line. So they get this nice beach towel. Mm-hmm. They get a shirt, a tech shirt, so all the half marathon and relay runners get this cool shirt. And then this year, what's new this year is the Speedway Challenge. So the challenge is running the half marathon or the relay, and then 3 hours later at 10:30, you run the 5K, which is the lap around the track. So if you do the challenge, you get a third medal, and then you get this really cool jacket, and then you get everything else that came with those perks of the race. And then we have the medals here if you want to see them later. But you know, a lot of runners, it's all about the bling. So every year we have these great medals, and this one that
You did bring 7 of those, right?
You
we
got to
can
run the
arrange
race.
for that. We have them.
I'm just checking.
Yeah, but you know, Mr. Deneen will say you have to run the race to get the medal.
That's right.
So really, that's it. Just want to remind everyone that there's still time to sign up. Online registration goes through 11:59 p.m. tonight. You can sign up day of the event on Sunday, and portions of the proceeds will go to the Marine Science Center. So that's our beneficiary of the race. So, so there you have it, and we hope that a lot of people will still come out and sign up and just enjoy this great event that we're partners with the Speedway.
Zap.
Okay.
Now I'm going to, now this year, because I've never missed before, I hurt my leg, so I can only run, I'm going to run the relay. That's I'll only run half the 13. Then I'm going to run the 5K to get the jacket. But I'm going to split
no
that race
excuses.
with the sheriff. The new sheriff and I are running together.
Cool. I know that we started one several years ago in Ormond. It started on a Sunday morning, I believe, and it grew and that's a small one. And I've been to the one in Nashville, which is huge, and having a city manager who I think she participated in 20-something last year.
Yeah, 24.
24. She participated in 24 marathons or half marathons last year. And the excitement and the awareness of your community and what that brings when you have these, and the economic value
Absolutely.
is phenomenal. And I don't think we're having to spend, we didn't buy those uniforms, did we?
Oh, this is all small sponsorship.
Yeah, we have sponsorships.
That was my point.
Yeah.
That was a question which I knew the answer. So, but it is great, and thank you for doing this, and thank our partner, the Speedway, for having such a fantastic facility. I would think some people would come out just to do the
That's it.
5K or the lap, just to be able to say they ran where others raced. You know,
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
What we'd like to do, I mean, we've had so much support in the community. I'm sorry Mr. Davis left, is that they've been big supporters. They see that this in the long run can put heads in beds. And so we've had support from every agency. I think what we're all hoping to do is we could grow this into a phenomenon. Racing, it's amazing how many people run. The majority of which in America that sign up for races are women now. And it's become a big family event. We hope someday, we figure we'll get right around 2,800 people again, which is pretty good considering the hurricane impacted races, believe it or not, because a lot of our neighbors from Georgia and that, you know, worried about coming down because they have other things they got to do around their house. But the bottom line is we hope to grow this someday to an enormous size. We have the opportunity here. And if you talk to people, even Runner's World, when they saw what we were doing, said, you know, this is the kind of race could be on somebody's bucket list. You know, running the track. We're having a hard time. People understand you really do get to run the track. And then running on the world's most famous beach and finishing under the world's most famous finish line is unbelievable. It's one of the best hooks in America. So we're hoping to build that. And what's happened, which I think is good, is the hotel community has realized that if we work on this, this could be enormous for us. And then you figure that right across the street now with One Daytona, this all ties into that whole complex. Okay, with the Speedway. So we hope that we'll grow this into something really, really big, and we'll be famous for this along with the 500. We're hoping we'll be famous for the half marathon.
Yeah. Ms. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering if you're going to show that little video clip. I know it's up on social media, if you haven't seen it, with our sheriff and our manager passing the baton. And they filmed it out front, and I happened to be walking outside when they were filming it. And Joanne, it was all I could do not to take my iPhone out and video the video. Now I wish I would have. because it would have gone, mine would have gone viral. It was good. I'm saying that, it was very good. It's a good clip. If you haven't seen it, I think our sheriff has it up on his site, but it's a good video, and I think it bodes well for our community.
By the way, we need one if you'd like to volunteer. You'd volunteer in the past to wave the flag to start the race.
You mean drop that little green flag with
If you'd
Jimmy
like to
Johnson
do it.
and motorsports? That was the day. That was back in the day.
Right.
That was a
So
good one.
if one of you wants to volunteer, let us know.
And what time does that start?
7:30 in the morning is when the first race goes off.
And you have to be there by 5:30, just saying.
You do have to allow a little bit of time to get into the speedway.
And the date on that again is?
This Sunday, February 5th.
Who wants to drop the green flag? Council member usually does it, correct, Mr. Manager?
We have 2 volunteers.
Both of you, they'd be great.
Both do it.
Be great.
We'll get 2 flags.
2 flags.
2 flags.
All right.
Thank you both.
We'll get you the details for that.
Details coming. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
This is great, what you're doing now to start. When you start off this good, it can only grow.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Thank you.
That's good.
No other comments. We will move on to the item at 9:25, I'm guessing.
I thought it came out better. Yeah. Good job.
And I will call George.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Council, this is the item that we talked about last meeting, and you asked us to get with the applicant, and we did that.
Is Mr. Merrill here? Oh. Sorry.
Yeah, they're in the audience. And I'm happy to report, we have I think a way to work this out together, and we have a way to manage it. So we're all excited to recommend this to you. What I'd like to do, I had passed out first the working copy that we had worked on this morning, but then we were able to get a color copy. But there is a revised schedule that was sent out, and essentially what we're asking to do is to remove the schedule that was put in the agenda item and replace it with this schedule. And what the applicant has agreed to do is to take the year in 2 chunks, and we're looking at right now the non-turtle nesting season, which is where we're at today, and the bulk of his big events that are coming up here this spring. So. And then what we'll do, he will come back after we go through this period of time, probably in April, and we'll be able to provide a report as to what he had accomplished during this period of time, how many days were used, and then he'll have probably his schedule for what he wants to do in the turtle nesting season section, which is through the summer. So, what I just want to go over now some of the what we've agreed to. This revised schedule here, as you'll note, has the possible rain days in it, but they're listed by date. So you will be, by approving the schedule, you're also approving the sale of alcohol if he needs these days. Some of the other mechanics of it that we worked out, we had talked about this before. In order to use these rain dates, he has agreed to notify us the day before, reasonable time of 5 o'clock for a morning or day event, and then at noon for an evening event. The trigger here is that he can't really start occupying the beach, and he's agreed to that, and he'll work with our staff on that. So that if he figures out that he cannot have that event, does not go out on it, notifies us, it triggers the rain days that you see here before you. Okay. So with that, I think staff recommends the approval of the revised schedule for the non-turtle nesting season portion of the event schedule, with the requested rain days, with the provision that the applicant will notify us by 5 p.m. the day before an event, and will be by noon the day of an event for that evening, and the provision also that the applicant has not started a major setup of his equipment and starts occupying the beach.
Thank you. Ms. Post.
I just wanted to say, I know you're a long-standing business partner in the community, so we wanted to say that we're happy to have you as a member of the community, and I'm just glad that we're able to come to a compromise on this.
Ms. Cusack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would want to make sure that the applicant and the attorney, if you have any additional comments that you want to make about this before I would place a motion in. Do you have?
Ms. Jamie, sorry.
No, I think the applicant and the attorney, Mr. Merrill, has indicated that he doesn't have anything to say and that he's good to go with the proposal Mr. Rechtenwald put on place before you.
Thank you. Then, Mr. Chair, I'd like to offer a motion that the events as indicated would be approved by this body.
Thank you. Is there a second? Ms.
Second,
Dennis?
Wheeler.
Ms. Dennis.
Yeah, to be included with the changes made that staff has presented in the event calendar that we've just been presented for 20 days and the possible rain days.
Right.
Yeah.
That is the motion. That is the part.
Is yours the second? Ms. Dennis?
Yes.
No,
I
Ms.
second.
Ms.
Wheeler
Wheeler
second.
second that.
Ms. Dennis. Are there any other questions or comments?
I just wanted to say that I'm glad that this was worked through. It's important to the citizens and to this council that we be good partners and that we want to do what is right and fair, and that we want to make sure that the citizens have access to this beach, and we want people to also be able to work with us to do business in Volusia County. And so I thank staff, I thank the applicant and his attorney for working diligently to get this done. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Cusack.
Now, Mr. Chair.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The motion carries. Ms. Dennis, you came up after that, but
No, that's okay. I want to expand on this issue. No, this is good timing. Every year, council, we go around this mountain. Every year. As we should. But I think we've talked about this the last 2 years on these kind of events at the beach, which we encourage. This is not a negative, this is a positive. What I'd like to do is direct staff to come back to council with a policy that we have parameters on, because it's time for that, and I'll tell you why. Southeast Volusia would love to have this opportunity for events like this on the beach. But it's always come in here, the struggle, bring your attorney, what's allowed, what's not allowed. We need to have a standard. That's what we are as policymakers, not exception makers. And too many times in situations like this, it becomes an adversarial position between the council and what our private business and industry want to do with their business and enjoyment of the beach. So I think it's time that we're here. We need to tackle the tough issue, and it will be. But I think it's time we look at a policy so that when the applications come in, staff can be guided by policy, and we don't have to continually go through this and ask these tough questions, and it would just make it easier to navigate for everybody. And I will tell you, I think there will be other opportunities. And again, we're policymakers, not exception makers, and I think we need to be inclusive of all of our business entities along the beach and open this up within the parameters by law. Again, making sure we keep access for the citizens. This is not about decreasing access. This is more access and use and enjoyment of our beaches with those that use our beaches and the businesses that do the same. So I'd like to hear from my colleagues on that, but it's just to direct staff to come up with something within the next 60 days. I want to put a time limit on this too, because we go around this mountain too. Within the next 60 days to come back to council with a draft policy going forward on this.
Ms. Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think maybe also in that conversation, we should have representatives of the business community to have their input on this also. This is a big deciding factor, and we want to embrace their information as well as the citizens too. But I think that would be a real important factor for this.
Well, the
Ms.
legal,
Cusack, oh, sorry.
excuse me, the legal's got to, it's got to come from legal first.
Exactly.
It's,
But somewhere along the
That will
line,
hap-
they
that
should
will
have the
happen, but-
input also. They should have some say-so on that.
Ms. Cusack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree that a policy may be indicated, but I also think that we should have some history as to how often has this happened. Is this a repeated thing that has happened? And I've been on the council, and I'm the oldest serving member on the council at this time. I'm just saying. And this is the I remember the history. Mr. Bruno thought that we wanted to have, they were coming for every event. And this policy was set that they would present in their calendar of events. And that's how we got to this point. And so now I think that maybe that might be, we need to be moving in that direction, but I'm not sure that it is of such that we need to move within the next couple of 60 days. Is it that big of a problem? It has not been, but I think it's something that we ought to look at. But I don't think that, and I think it should be all inclusive, the business community as well as staff. So I'm not saying that we have to proceed within 60 days to set up a policy and get back. I mean, their plates are full. We keep adding more to staff to do and putting time frames on them as to when they get them done. This is set, and this is the only business that has been coming for events of this nature. More will come, certainly, but I think that we don't have, it doesn't seem to be, to me, that we need to add that to the staff, that's to say, demand that they do it in 60 days.
Thank you, and I agree with that. I think we have this one set. I believe that if we have others out there, let's say it's New Smyrna Beach or Ormond Beach or wherever it may be, I mean, I'd love to see a big country music festival on the beach, but I mean, they have them all over the country.
What would that be?
We might could get someone that I could go see a concert.
We might need to have a committee look into this.
We might have a committee look into that and see if we can do. But I think you've set a policy. You've set the direction has been established. I wasn't here when it was done, but I think the policy that was set was they present, and I don't know that others have presented and been turned down. If they haven't, to go into the setting the parameters, using this as a guideline, as a frame, that if someone else wants to come before us and make a presentation for New Smyrna Beach, let's say that all the businesses there wanted to get together and sponsor an event, I would certainly entertain that, or if it's somewhere in Ormond Beach or wherever it is. I think we could look at it if we, and I understand what we went through on this one, on debating, but once we've said it, I think now the policy that's there, even though it's been split with the rain days and everything it's agreed on, that seemed like that should work and get us through this year. Let's put that as maybe one of the objectives or one of the things that we would discuss in our comments that we're going to be coming up as we go into our workshop as an idea or thought that you'd like to have. So, Ms. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, it's not a policy, and we do this every year. This might be the first time you've gone through the process. There's a difference between process and policy. We go around this mountain every year. So, no, we don't have a policy in this. And do we need a deadline? Yes, we need a deadline. And it's not about a problem, addressing a problem. This is about encouraging opportunity. You can either look at this as a problem, which I do not. I look at it as an opportunity, and I think it is our position as policymakers to set policy stop problems, and allow our citizens and businesses to move within the framework of policy we set. We have been void of a policy on this issue. Ms. Seaman, can I get some dialogue with you? Because I've talked with you over the last couple days on this particular issue and my frustration that we have to go through this and we have to bring the vendors in, you know, and their attorneys and go through this. This is something, do we have a policy? Is there a policy on this?
There's no formal policy.
There's no
ma'am.
formal policy on this. So no, this is just process, and I'm going to make a motion. It can fail, but I am going to make a motion that we direct staff to come up with a policy and present to council that we can address special events on the beach with the parameters for a calendar so they know how to proceed. And is 60 days? Yes, 60 days, because we're in the middle of beach season. And I promise you, if some of our enterprises knew that this was an opportunity, economic development opportunity for them and their businesses, they would utilize it more freely. That is, and the quiet use and enjoyment and access to the beach, I think this fits everything. So with that, that's my motion. I'm going to make a motion that we direct staff to draft a policy to bring back to the council within 60 days that defines the use of special events on the beach as it pertains to our businesses. And then we can go from there and get input from the public and from the businesses. But that's my motion. Thank you.
Dr. Lowry.
I'll second that, and just add that we don't have a problem with it, but we could have one. And I think if we keep doing this, going around the mountain every year, we're going to encounter an event of some kind that's going to cause a major difficulty, and we're going to have someone say, well, you did this for so-and-so, and we don't need to get into that, and I think the policy will avoid that. Thank you.
Mr. Patterson.
I'm not going to support the motion because I think this is something that should be part of a workshop where we really vet this out other than turning it over to staff. I think we're getting ready to open up a real can of worms here, looking at what other events in other counties have turned into rather nightmares considering, you know, the spring break and everything else. And so I really feel that this thing should come back in a workshop, and so I won't support the motion.
Ms. Cusack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will not support the motion in as much as I think that we are on the right track. I think that we have not had a problem. I think that we do have time is not of essence, that this is something we have to move in on 60 days. And we have to be very careful as we proceed to make sure that we do what is fair and right for the citizens, for the businesses, and to protect the both of them. So based on that, to come to make a requirement that it has to be done in 60 days, and I just cannot support that. So
Thank you. I'll just add this. When you set something as policy, this is a procedure that people go through, and I don't think we're closing the door to anyone who may want to come before us currently, the way it currently exists. If they want to go through the process, you can certainly see that there is a process. I know that there was a little mix-up at the last meeting, which cost us 10 or 15 minutes, and today cost us another 10 or 15 or 20 minutes. I don't see that as a major obstacle on getting things worked out, and to set a policy which may eliminate others from coming, because we don't know what that policy is going to be, when we can at least look at those who may want to come before us with an opportunity, but we may set a policy that's so strict and stringent that they'll be shut out. And just because we're doing something for one, I've never believed that you've opened a can of worms. If somebody else wants to come in and fish with those worms and follow the same procedures that we do, because we have the policy that is set parameters that you have to use and notify those things that are there. And I'm open to letting others come the same. Ms. Dennis.
Mr. Chair, this was more than 10 minutes of last week. and 10 minutes of discussion this week. I'd like to know all the staff hours and time that is taken between the last 2 to 3 weeks on this issue alone. This issue alone. We could have crafted a policy and had parameters a lot more effectively and efficiently. So I'm gonna stick with my motion. If it gets voted down, I think it is reasonable. I think it is time, and there's so much that goes on behind the scenes in the discussions and the negotiations, and I think we need to send the message that that we have a policy and that's how we navigate. Because right now, it's not policy, and it's not good form. I'm going to go on the record and just say it's not good form. That's all. Well, I'll call the motion.
Call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye. Oh, that's for what? I was calling the vote. I thought we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chair.
We
the
do, but
motion
there was a, Ms.
just that
Denny's
to
was.
close the discussion.
Right. Okay. I
And we have
understand
to do that first.
Okay, now then we can, the motion has been made, second, discussion is closed.
Now we vote.
You got to vote on the motion to call the motion.
There's a call for the question. It has to be.
Okay.
We have to have a vote on the call for the question. It has to be a 2/3.
All in favor of calling the question, say aye.
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 Now then, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Aye.
No.
No. I'm thinking it's 4-3.
We
So if
need
you want
to
to
say
call, if
who's,
you want to call that,
we
I
can do
had-
it electronically, or you can tell me who's
I'm sorry?
opposed. We can do that electronically, or you can tell me who is opposed.
Let's do the
Do it electronically.
I call for a division.
Okay. Dr. Lowry, you're not. There you go. I did too. The votes are in. We have 1, 2, 3 noes, 4 yeses. The motion fails.
May I read into the record?
The motion passes.
The four that were for the motion were Ms. Denny's, Mr. Lowry, Ms. Post, and Ms. Wheeler. Opposed is Ms. Cusack, Mr. Kelly, and Mr. Patterson.
So the motion passes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
So I thought you said no. You voted to pass to have it come back in 60 days. Really?
Me?
Yes.
That's what you just voted for.
I didn't. I thought you were against it. Is the way you had.
Okay, I am so.
She indicated that she was against it.
All right, let's do this again. Let me reset.
Okay.
Okay.
If yes means you're for the motion to come back in 60 days with a policy procedure set.
That's the way.
No means you are against that.
That's right.
Okay.
All votes are in.
All right. Okay, so the motion fails 3-4. Those opposed, Ms. Cusack, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Patterson, and Ms. Wheeler.
Okay.
Can I demand a recount?
I'm just
Thought I saw a
saying.
hanging,
Say no.
thought I
pay-
saw a hanging Chad.
If you pay the qualifying fee, you can have a recount.
Mr. Chair, I do
Yes, sir.
believe that this thing is worthy of a workshop with
Yes, sir.
looking at it. And it's not like I was opposed to it. And I'm going to catch heck about it from Ms.
And I think
Denny's here.
it is worthy of spending a lot more time, and this is the kind of thing that I think would be helpful to bring up when we're discussing later on in our workshop, is things to bring forward to have workshops on. So, Ms. Cusack. Ms. Wheeler.
I agree. I think it's something that's worthy that we need to go back and look at. I was a little stumbled by the 60 days. I think we need to have a I would really agree to a workshop on this so we can have the discussion out there. And so that's the reason why I voted no for the 60 days.
Well, we were able to get back to where those on this time certain are behind now, so we can move to item 5, I think. Is that correct? And this is the
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of County Council. Donna Butler, Community Services Director. I'm here to talk to you today about our Housing Choice Voucher Program, more commonly known in our community as Section 8, and the administrative plan revisions. Before I start, though, I want to give some praise to some folks that are sitting down here on the front row. Indulge me for 2 seconds, please. I've got Donna Carter, who's our program manager, Stephanie Mullally, and Jeanette Rivera. These are our 2 caseworkers. You've all heard from me that we have 322 vouchers. These 3 ladies manage all of that. So kudos to them and for the 9 months that they spent with Carmen Hall, my operations manager, making the changes to this plan. So, Section 8 administrative plan, as I told you, we've had a waiting list for over 7 years that had 1,500 folks on it. Because we're almost done with that waiting list, we felt it was time to revise our administrative plan before we opened it back up. So we need to be compliant with HUD regulations and requirements, and then you all as the County Council have to approve those changes. So there's a bunch of administrative changes, oral interpretation, written translation, sex offender screening. There's a long list there that I won't go over today. I really want to focus on 2 major changes, the local preferences and the family unit voucher size. Local preferences are the most exciting in our world because you all as council members and previous council members have expressed to us frustration when you have one of your citizens that is frustrated because they can't get housing through Section 8. And you have called us and said, hey, what's going on? Well, unfortunately, it was first come, first serve in the old way that we did it. So it didn't matter if they were a resident, if they were not, if they were a senior, if they were disabled. None of those things mattered. All that mattered was what number they were from 1 to 1,500. So our local preferences that we're proposing to you today will help cure some of that in our mind. And this is a common practice now throughout HUD PHAs. And so we've got several that we're going to talk about. The first is the homeless preference. It would receive 60 points. And so it will help those families or individuals that are homeless. Included within that, though, is something even more exciting, and that is that we will annually assist up to 15 homeless or chronically homeless families. We've never had the flexibility to do that before, and that is critical in this environment as the county works with the whole coalition and the whole system of provision of care for homeless. So we're really excited about having the opportunity to do that. The next is the involuntary displacement preference, and this is in italics because this is required by HUD. So if for some reason someone was unable to stay in their Section 8 housing because of a reduction in funds, then they would receive 30 points in the preference list. So residency preference, very exciting to be able to give preference to those that actually live in Volusia County. This does not exclude anyone outside of Volusia County from applying. It just means that residents in Volusia County would receive preference and would be more apt to get a voucher sooner than someone that did not live here. And finally, working preference, and this is broader than just holding a job. If you're employed at least 30 hours a week, that's definitely working. But also if you're age 62 or older, if you're disabled, or if you're a part-time student and you work 20 hours a week and go to school at least 10, then you qualify for the working preference. So we did some examples. If you hit absolutely everything, you could get a maximum preference score of 135. If you only got 1 and you were just working, you'd still get a preference of 20. Okay, so the next item is the family unit voucher size, and this is not a HUD requirement, but it is a HUD recommendation. They prefer to see 2 people in each bedroom. So we are moving along that line, and our neighbors have all gone this route. It will long-term give us flexibility to serve more families. Now, if someone has a problem with that we have put something in place here, if you approve it, that would give us the authority for them to submit a written request so that they could get a variance to that rule. For example, a 7-year-old girl and a 17-year-old boy probably shouldn't be sharing a bedroom, so then they would qualify for separate bedrooms. And with that, if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Ms. Cusack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't see in here, Donna, where it says the total number of points required.
There are no points required. So
Do you do points then?
to give preference. Previously, it was first come, first serve. So we opened previously just for one day, and we had 1,500 individuals show up and submit an application for themselves and or their families. So as we had vacancies on our voucher list, we would then call up the next 20 people. We go through the process of doing the income verification and so forth and try and fit those folks if they still qualified on our list. It didn't matter if they were working, if they lived in Volusia County, if they were elderly or disabled, or if they were homeless. None of that mattered. All that mattered is if you were number one, or subsequently all the way down to 1,500. Now, if someone happens to be working and living in Volusia County, they get a preference. So the computer will they will fill out an application online now, and the computer will automatically rank them by their application. So if they claim that they're homeless, they'll check a box, and they'll automatically get that 60 points. If they happen to be working and homeless, then they would get the working. If they also live in Volusia County, that would happen. Because we have found ourselves faced with folks that work, but they're homeless. They're living out of their car. They just can't get that money necessary to pay their rent. So that's the difference, is that you could accumulate points so that on this waiting list, we have some up here that, due to self-declaration, are going to be seen before those that say don't live in Volusia County or are not working. And working, of course, includes being...
Donna,
yes.
I think what you need to make clear is how the points make a difference on the list.
That's exactly what
You go to the top of the
I
list.
see what you're missing, is that what she's talking about, I am very proud, I've asked her to try and make this better and follow all the rules to help this county and to deal with issues to the council. But what you're missing, because see, you understand it so well, you're not, explain to her how the points change you on the list.
You go to the top of the list, the more points you have.
See,
So there is a reason to have the points.
yes,
Right.
yes.
You go to the top of the list.
It's like an additional.
With the current list, it's
There's
first
no way
come,
to
first serve.
differentiate.
So we'll be open for 3 days because it's electronic, and whoever has the most points, like I said on that example, let me flip back on you here.
So they do matter.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely, they matter.
It reshuffles, Joyce, what it does is it reshuffles the priority based on the points that you get. And Joyce's question was a good one, because unless you understand, you weren't communicating that effect because you know it. And what it is that she found a way now to reshuffle the priority based on the points, based on the frustrations that the council members had on how this program worked. The other thing that we've tried to do is, and all of you know that we've been dealing with this on homeless. In fact, we had a meeting Billy and I did with a faith group yesterday, is that they're now starting to understand that the county has all these other initiatives for homelessness. And so we talked about this, and so we're constantly looking for ways to enhance how we help people. This is another way. So, for example, you added the homeless into this, which we've never done before, and we should be looking for ways to enhance our other programs, which is what we're doing.
Thank you. That's exactly what I needed to have that clarified, so that
I'm sorry,
if someone
I wasn't
moves
clear.
above someone else,
Yes, ma'am.
the points has been a part of the consideration in that move.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Wrong button.
I'm taking those other two off.
Okay, thank you. When we talked about this is similar to what Habitat for Humanity does. When they look at preferences, Joyce, you've got to fit a parameter, and it's the local preference, and it's a system that works very well. But my question to you is, do we have other agencies within Volusia County that have local preferences?
Yes, we do. There are actually 5 PHAs, Public Housing Authorities. Obviously, ours is the County of Volusia. You have Daytona, DeLand, New Smyrna, and Ormond Beach, all separate from their local governments. They're all federal organizations. And 3 others of those have preferences, different preferences than ours, but they still have preferences.
And because of this, then, does this allow us to collaborate and work with other agencies to serve our local citizens easier? Does this, I guess this gives you more flexibility, it's probably the word, to move between the agencies and support services?
Especially with the homeless, so that if we don't, once the waiting list is full, you know, it's as the points are ranking them. But on the homeless, if we have an opening, we can recruit from the outside for homeless.
See, that's the other advantage. And plus, this is, exactly.
Yes.
And because this is the first time we've added those slots for the homeless, you know, this can't be understated enough that this is allowing, again, increasing the parameters of what we do, continue to do for the homeless population, and working within the agencies, always looking for a way to do it better. And I think I think this is a great system, and I understand what Ms. Cusack was asking and the purpose of the rankings. So I think this is, and this is will also be a tool for rapid rehousing. Is that true? Will this help with that?
It could. Rapid rehousing is done separately, and they have to go through one of the agencies that provides that housing through the grant funds. Rapid rehousing generally only goes 1 to 2 years depending on need. The Section 8 is ongoing until they no longer either meet the income qualifications or they've violated family obligations.
Understood, but if the way we're setting the priorities, then if the real goal is for rapid rehousing, I mean, if that's our goal, this should help expedite that, I would think, by putting them and working with them within the agencies in the score. It's good. I think this is this is really good. And do you need a motion on this? Do you need a motion?
Yeah, we do.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I have others to speak. But
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion that we adopt the Housing Choice Voucher Program Section 8 Administrative Plan as presented.
Second.
Well, now that the motion's been passed, but I just wanted to make sure that, I know in our discussion you had talked about Hope Place as well, and I wanted to be sure that that was pointed out, that you will be working to funnel homeless families to that.
If we have an opening on the homeless section, we could take referrals from Hope Place or any other homeless shelter.
Just with the recent opening of Hope Place. And
it'll be great.
Yeah, I wanted to point that out. Okay.
I'll do it again. The motion's been made by Ms. Denny, second by Mr. Patterson. Are there any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The motion carries unanimous. And just a quick comment, I think it is fantastic that you're able now to give preference to a homeless person from Volusia County over a unemployed person from Ocala. Nothing against Ocala, but before they were equal.
Thank you. We appreciate the support.
Thank you.
Just to add to that homeless person from Ocala may also be now residents of Volusia County because they live.
Well, let's put them in Tallahassee then. I don't know, somewhere. Gainesville. The point being that it's helping.
I get the point. I thought I'd just give you a little bit.
And it was deserved because I like Ocala. Nothing against them. And I love Tallahassee. So we'll now move to item 7. And we're able to move. Just saying, there we go again. Rob Earhart. No, it doesn't look like Rob. Yes. You are up.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the County Council. Rob Earhart, Economic Development Director. I have a quarterly report on key economic metrics for October, November, December of 2016. You have the full report attached to your agenda item, so I will go through, or excuse me, review just a few of the slides in the interest of time, and then take any questions that you may have. Just as a little bit of backdrop, recently the GDP, the first estimate, advanced estimate of GDP came out at 1.9. That's decent growth for the U.S. People would like to see it more robust, maybe something more akin to the 3.5% that was the first estimate for the third quarter of 2016. What's not readily known is that unemployment insurance claims, the 4-week moving average, and this is a national statistic, is below 250,000, and that's for the first time since November of 1973. So that's meaningful in the context that national unemployment rate is 4.5%. Locally, December unemployment rate was 5%. That's good news, but the challenge for business is to find qualified and interested employees that are going to come to work every day and help them grow their individual concerns. So with that backdrop, our first slide is private industry annual average wage trends. This is something we typically do every February just to give you some context as to what the trend is for Volusia County as compared to the state of Florida, as compared to the United States. And at the end, to the right of the Volusia County line, is the annual average wage that the state will use to evaluate any incentive requests for Volusia County that come from businesses in Volusia County for this calendar year 2017. 35,903, that's a 3.5% increase as compared to the previous year's annual average wage. So that's good news, but clearly you can see we're still lagging the state. We wanted to peel that onion back a layer, if I can use that expression, and take a look at the same three entities, Volusia County, state of Florida, U.S., by industry as it relates to average wage. And so that's what you see before you. I think the slide's pretty self-explanatory. And by the way, Mr. Chair, for those listening on the internet, this report is not only in the agenda package, but it's posted on our website, floridabusiness.org, under the Data and Key Reports tab. We then decided to take this one step further and just see what is going on with annual average wages. This is Volusia County only for the same industries. And so you can see what the trend is for annual average wages by industry in Volusia County. And if I add to this slide, forgive my lack of engineering expertise here, a line that shows roughly that $36,000 annual average wage. You can see clearly what industries fall below that wage, what industries fall above that wage. And at this point, I would just say for review that our direction is to be focused on business expansion and retention. That is, we help businesses located inside the borders of Volusia County. And we do that in a way that we work with businesses, or we focus specifically on businesses that are adding jobs that will positively influence our annual average wage, bring capital investment, and diversify our economy. Necessarily, that means we're not working on a daily basis with all industries. We're available to any business in any industry if they have questions, so that we can connect them with someone who has the expertise to address their issue. So clearing the line and continuing forward, these slides that I'm bypassing are what I refer to as boilerplate slides. You will see these slides at every instance when I give this report. I will stop back at the residential permit data slide and just say for calendar year 2016, if the sum total of these permits is roughly $517 million for the calendar year, so over $500 million of new construction residential permits. By comparison to 2015, that's an increase of about 21%. That's good news. To put it in context, however, by comparison to 2006, we are roughly 40% of what was taking place at that point in time. So we have not yet reached the heady days of prior to recession in terms of commercial new construction permits. So fast forwarding to current GDP by private industry, this gives you a summary of that metric for Volusia County. You can see that at $13.1 billion, we have equaled and surpassed the high prior to the recession. I wanted to compare us to a like-minded neighbor, and so this takes our MSA and compares it to the MSA to the south. Just selected this randomly, primarily based on the fact that Space Florida recently visited our community, December of 2016. Their president and CEO, Frank DeBello, made a nice presentation, talked a lot about aviation and aerospace. Certainly commercial space is a part of that. And so it made sense to take a look at ourselves as compared to that MSA in a pie chart form. And then on the next slide, you'll see those same numbers in tabular form on the left. And to the right, you'll see general county characteristics. And there is a lot of similarity between ourselves and Brevard County to the south. I think that's also important in the context that the Orlando EDC and the Central Florida Partnership are in the process of merging, and in so doing, that combined organization will extend its outreach beyond what we know of or think about as just the Central Florida area to include ourselves and Brevard County. It's also significant in that I had the opportunity to attend a part of the Space Florida board meeting yesterday in Orlando. I say a part because there was an accident on Interstate 4 that basically closed things down for several hours, so I was a bit tardy to the meeting, but I'm holding before you a copy of what they distributed to their board members yesterday, which is the Cape Canaveral Spaceport Master Plan dated January 2017. This will be on their website for your access. Going forward. And obviously Mr. Hosseini in our community is a member of that Space Florida board, and he is also a member of the Enterprise Florida Executive Board, or Board of Directors, and they are meeting this morning. Pedro Leon in our office is representing our community there, and then the governor has a job summit this afternoon. So Mr. Chair, understanding you're going to join us tomorrow morning for our presentation to the community. Yes. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I guess we need a motion to accept the report. Apparently. Do we? Jim? No? I wouldn't have thought so, but since it was under the time certain, I assume that it will. Anyway, thank you for your report, and I'll see you in the morning at 7:30, I guess, right? And those of you who want to come can get the full detail. Now then, we will move to item 8. Mr. Deneen.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Obviously, this is a big issue to the county and to the region, and especially here in where the county building sits in DeLand. Just for clarification, before we launch into this with Mr. Eckert and Mr. Patterson, just to put this in perspective, we have 2 issues that we really have to deal with. One is our continued support for the Sunrail going to DeLand. That's number 1. And what will be detailed in we'll call that part 1, is what we believe needs to take place in terms of our commitment to moving forward in DeLand, and that will be the total amount that was committed to by the council in terms of dollars to make that happen. So we need to reaffirm that, given the fact that should it go to DeLand, FDOT has already made a decision in terms of a portion of it that would be single track rather than double track, that they believe that they can still make it work, and that they did not have support for replacing the bridge, which would have allowed for the double track in that one section. They're arguing that it is a change, but is not a significant change to affect the service. The council previously, after much debate, accepted that notion, but we believe that that also means that we had signed up to pay a lot of money for something we didn't get. So Mr. Eckert will go over that in terms of how we're going to try and make sure that we capture that quality and get credit for that. So you got 2 elements there. One is a reaffirmation of what we would spend should it come through, because I do think there's a limit under what you agreed into the contract to spend. And number 2, there comes to a point in time where the discussion has to end, and the hope has to end if it isn't real in terms of it going to DeLand. And the system will be turned, the one date in this entire discussion that has never changed, it is the only thing that hasn't changed, is that the state will be ending their commitment in 2021. We have to stay focused on the fact that that is an absolute, that will happen, and the system will be turned over to the Rail Commission, and therein us with the other counties. It is always anticipated that the system would never be turned over to us until it was completely built and run for at least a year to make sure that the construction was correct. If you go by that, which is rational behavior, what it means is that we've calculated back that you need to have received the full funding grant agreement, we believe, by no later than January 2019 for that to happen so that it could get built and be run before it gets turned over to you. So as Mr. Eckhart's going to go over, we believe that two things are going to have to be stated about going to DeLand: a recommitment to the maximum price, and a belief that there has to be a point in time where if the full funding grant agreement does not happen, and you're not going to wait to 2021, that you have to say, if that doesn't happen, then we know it's not coming. Now, the second part to this is, which Mr. Patterson brought up at the Rail Commission, was if the system never comes to DeLand, then the contract needs to be changed to protect, as Mr. Kelly and I talked about, to protect the taxpayers. And so that change needs to happen. Now, Mr. Patterson made it clear to the Rail Commission when he brought this up, because there was some talk of, well, there's always tomorrow to figure that out. The best way to put it was, Mr. Patterson said tomorrow's come already. So we have to figure out what that language would be. The Rail Commission, the chairman of the Rail Commission, said in front of everyone at the meeting that they understand now, Mr. Patterson made his point, and that they were expecting language changes to come forward from us. So what you'll see is today, Mr. Eckert giving you language that deals with going to DeLand and the maximums and the limits, and then also language of what happens if this system doesn't go to DeLand. And we've said January 2019 is the date when you'll know that if it doesn't go, what changes need to take place to protect the taxpayers and our budget in Volusia County. With that, if Mr. Patterson, I know, wants to make some comments, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Patterson, yes. Not a whole lot of comments. I think it's important to note that years ago, the previous council had the notion that the Sunrail to DeLand would have been probably completed by about 2010. So we're going. I've always maintained my support of the Sunrail, and it goes all the way back to the early 90s, and then when I was in the legislature when we were dealing with this issue, Representative Cusack and I had a lot to do with this as it was being presented. But there's a lot of new things out there. We don't have the champion that we used to have in Congressman Micah. And there's a changing of the guard at the Florida Department of Transportation right now, both at our local level and at the state level. So I think it's important that what Mr. Eckert has put together here is some amendments that I will be offering, that we forward these amendments on to our funding partners and to the state to let them know what we're looking for, and that I can take these up and at the next Sunrail Commission meeting or whenever. But I think it's important to us, because the main thing here is to protect the taxpayers. I mean, this is what they expected. The costs are going up. I sent around a thing with the Miami-Dade. We're competing against a lot of other big outfits. Miami-Dade County is looking for over $2 billion to build a rail system, and are adding on to it, which is going to cost them $1 million a day to operate, with only a 20% return at the fare box. And the costs are expensive right now for running Sunrail. So there's a lot of things in here, but that is what I want to propose here today is, and I want Mr. Eckert to kind of go over a few issues that are in these amendments, And then, Mr. Chair, if I can have the facts to make the motion.
Okay. Mr. Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The original Sunrail agreement was executed in 2007. It provided for the construction cost to be $18,519,000. That was the estimate by FDOT at the time. It contemplated double tracking, as has been said, and replacement of the bridge. Those figures were developed 10 years ago, so, and we had, as Mr. Patterson was commenting, I was reading a memo we wrote, legal department wrote to the county council in December 2012, recapitulating the history, and we'll be happy to furnish that to you. But the contemplation was at that point, even somewhat delayed, that phase 2 would have happened by 2010. The contracts provide for, do not provide what happens if phase 2 doesn't happen. It says it's to be subject to renegotiation. The council is then constituted, corresponded with the Department of Transportation last fall, and says, well, is it your position that phase 2 is not going to happen? The department said it's remained committed. The council has adopted a resolution saying it remained committed, but at the contract price. The department previously has taken the position that the single tracking is in conformance with the contract on the basis of functional equivalency. That issue's been reviewed, and I don't know that we have any dispute with that at this point, but the fact is it's a scope change, and if you accept that, you're agreeing to pay $3.5 million more for as I've outlined in the memorandum. So the date that's proposed is based upon what Mr. Deneen indicated. It also allows time for a best effort to achieve phase 2 to the land if it can be achieved, and you're agreeing to with recognition of the scope change to keep the same amount of money on the table, and the department is also, but you're agreeing to pay more for less construction. So this says, okay, if it can be achieved at this is where the council retains its support, but we know at that point that we've exercised our best efforts and it cannot happen. And so we've provided for to everyone's disappointment, and including the departments, I'm sure. So we've provided for what happens. We've generally said that the department should, I won't repeat the entire memo, we said the department should retain the portion of the rail from DeLand to DeBerry, and that it should be responsible for maintenance and repair and liability. That is what would happen. The department says, well, that's not has taken the position previously, that's an issue that's subject to negotiation. It's not a settled issue in the contract. This attempts to resolve that, and it is what would happen if there were a cessation of the commuter rail system. It would revert to the state, free of the easement. So essentially, you are where you're recognizing that this commuter rail system is not using the segment from DeLand to DeBerry. That reduces the construction, the track miles in Volusia County of the reduced system. Reduced system would be a little over 50 miles, and our mile and a half would be a little less than 3%. It doesn't negatively affect the other local partners. They would have a greater percentage, but of a lesser lesser system. We've said, I proposed to you, and Mr. Patterson's motion, I think, would say that the state can retain the monies that have been paid to it. They were spent in good faith. On the other hand, the parties would have no further obligation to each other as provided for in the agreement and with regard to the construction, and we would not have the obligation to pay any final design cost. The operational issue we've tried to handle in what we think is an equitable fashion. The council has agreed in previous times to stay in phase 1 and agreed to waive the cap, but it did not, the county didn't get what it sought, and so we think the most equitable thing is for the department to relinquish its ability to retain the portion over which the agreement otherwise would have provided, that they not be able to reduce your work program by the excess of the operational deficit over what was in the agreement. In the memo, I've pointed out what that would have been in 20 state fiscal year 2022, which would begin 2 months after the state turned over operation, and what the state is reporting the operational deficit that anticipates for this year to be. So I've tried to outline what in the agreements, what I anticipate the issues to be. What I've discussed, that I would ask that you approve them in substantially this form to forward. I think obviously the other parties will have different points of view, which will have to be incorporated. I think I've addressed the issues, but I would ask your concurrence to make small changes that are consistent with the principles that are outlined in the event that I find that's necessary. If there are questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I've kind of run through the agreement briefly so that there'll be an exposition of it on the public record, but I just want the record to be clear also that I've discussed it with each of you in more detail so that this is not the only time you're hearing this.
Mr. Chair, I also think what I'd like to add to the record so that we had it on the record that this change that the county attorney has recommended to go back to what was the original cap, if we only go to DeBerry. I've only had a chance to talk to 2 of the members that were here that voted for that, but I worked very closely with the previous council on this. This was a long, long time, a lot of work on Sunrail. I will tell you unequivocally, I believe, you can ask them yourselves when you see them at the next luncheon, that the 4 members that voted to allow the state to basically reach in and take other revenues if the cap was exceeded, okay, would never have voted for that, would never have voted for this agreement if they thought there was any likelihood that it wouldn't go to DeLand, or if they had been given any indication, based on what the state gave us, that the operating costs could get anywhere near where they are today. Because you're talking about 4 times higher now than what they anticipated in 2036. So I just want to think that so that people understand when that council voted for that the information they had is significantly different than what we are facing today.
Thank you. Mr. Patterson.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been going down there to the meetings, and I sense from the other funding partners that they want to be fair about this and the way we're treated here in Volusia County. And already Orange County is moving forward or talking about phase 3 of this, which is going to the airport. And that's just the expansion at the airport's over $1 billion, plus adding the Sunrail to it. I don't want to see us compounded, because we'll have a lot of people from Volusia County when that rail goes out to the airport, where we're really paying a lot of money out here. So I think it's fair is fair. And Mr. Chair, I move that we forward the proposed amendments of these three agreements to the funding partners of Osceola, Orange County, Orlando, and Seminole County.
To the Commission and Department as well, Mr. Patterson.
Pardon me?
To the Commission itself and the Department are
I
parties
was
also.
getting to that, and to the Commission itself and to the Florida Department of Transportation.
Motion is made by Mr. Patterson, seconded by Ms. Cusack to accept the amendments. Is there any additional discussion? Just one quick comment. I think the whole thing, to me, boils down to the fact that we actually thought, I think the previous councils thought that we were protected, and subsequent to that, we found that we are not as protected as we thought we were, and this is a way to correct and make sure that the taxpayers of Volusia County are not going to be having to endure and incur the expenses for which we're not receiving any type of value or benefit. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. And with that, we will now move to the next item, which I think is going to be 10. I'm sorry? Item 9. And this is one, Dan, this was under, Mr. Acker, it was under 10:30 was other business on a time certain, and we voted on 10. Was that also included in the time certain, or was that just for item 9?
Mr. Chair, the format of the agreement is still in the previous discussion. The format of the agenda is a little confusing. These appointments are normally matters that are not for time certain. So I think it's before you properly.
So it's okay to vote on 9 without having to go back and re-vote on 10. That's my question. Okay. Is there a motion on item 10 to appoint a city commissioner to Spring Hill Community Redevelopment Agency? Jeff Hunter's name is submitted. Is there a motion to appoint him to this position?
It's item 9.
I'm sorry?
9. You said 10.
9, yes, sorry.
Mr. Chair, I move for the appointment of Jeff Hunter to the Spring Hill Community Development Agency.
Second. I was watching it pop up.
I'll take the second, Mr. Chair.
You going to take second?
Yeah, I'll second that with a
Made by Mr. Patterson, second by Ms. Cusack.
Yeah. Normally, we don't have seconds on these appointments, do we?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter, but I'm just saying, we've...
No one gave me that guideline, Mr. Patterson. Sorry about that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those like sign, that motion carries unanimously. We will now move to...
I have a comment.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to make mention that on the Spring Hill CRA, I have served at the pleasure of the chair, and I wanted to know if you, as the chair, if you want that appointment, want to serve, or would you?
I think you served that very well, from what I understand.
I just want to do what's proper and in order. It's your appointment, and if you would like for me to continue
If you would continue serving, I think you've done a great job from everything that I know, and I appreciate you continue to serve on that. You will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I'll continue to serve.
Mr. Chair, you know you're giving up all the special treats and everything associated with it and all the perks that go with serving.
It started at 6 o'clock and about 6.
That's why Joyce is, you're getting set up, sir.
So delighted. No money.
What you're saying, there's a lot of perks to serving on that.
No money, not much time and discussion, but it starts at 6, and it's quite. I'm just saying this, and then we have very little money to work with. But I'd be glad to continue to work and to serve and try to make sure that we do what is good and what's right for the Spring Hill CRA. Thank you,
great.
Mr. Chair, for the
Thank
opportunity.
Thank you very much. Okay, now then, there's no additional public participation and discussion by the council members, and we'll start with Mr. Lowry again. That's why you got to call first. I'll have to remember that now. I don't have to read my little notes.
There you go. There you go. I do not have anything to add today. Thank
Okay.
you.
Ms. Post. Mr. Patterson.
I just have one thing. Several years ago, and I know probably people will cringe, the PACE, I brought up the PACE program, the Property Assessed Clean Energy program that is going on, and it was in its infancy several years ago, and we kind of backed off of it, but it's really taken off in a lot of counties. It does allow people to borrow money, which is assessed at their on their home, and it lets them to get various clean energy. We have several contractors here in Volusia County that are PACE certified, so I'm wondering if we can take it up. There was a problem. Our property appraiser wasn't too crazy about the program, and neither was our chief financial officer, but I'd like to just, with staff, if they would look at that, because we're starting to get a lot of phone calls from the various providers of the PACE program, Y-Green and 3 or 4 others. So I'd like to just look at that again. I've had some people call me and ask me about, is the county ever going to get involved in the PACE program? I don't think it's for everybody, but it's somebody who wants to put in a high-efficiency air conditioner system in their house. They can do that, and then it is assessed against the home, so it's basically like a lien on the property. If the homeowner moves, it stays with the property. It doesn't get transferred. It's not a loan to the, that loan doesn't carry over to that individual. So it's an interesting program, but I'd like to just have us look at it again. Okay?
Thank you. Ms. Cusack.
Mr. Chair?
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't actually say nope when you.
What did you say?
I said, oh.
I did not have my hearing aid on, so I didn't. I misinterpreted an oop for a no. So we will go back to you.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I just wanted to say I had the pleasure of judging the Tomoka Regional Science Fair over the weekend, and I was just absolutely blown away by the students in Volusia County, and I judged, imagine that, the chemistry division, but we have some amazing students, and they are looking, hopefully next year, at having the regional science fair. This year they had it at Spruce Creek High School, and they're trying to have it at the Ocean Center next year in hopes that 2019 they're actually going to have the state regional science fair here in Volusia County at the Ocean Center. So I think it's fantastic that, because normally they have it in the middle of the state, and that we might actually have the state science fair here in 2019, especially with the STEM programs that we're pushing. So I just wanted to mention that, if we could keep that in mind. And also, Mr. Earhart discussed the Governor's Job Summit that's going on this afternoon and tomorrow, and I just wanted to say that I'm headed over there for that, and I'm going to be having some meetings about that. Obviously, the median job income in Volusia is very important, so I'll be going over there to that. So that's it.
Thank you. Sorry, I'll have to listen more carefully next time. Now, Ms. Cusack. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make mention that I noticed that we have our agenda packets are different. We've gone from all numbers to alphabets and numbers. Can you tell me the rationale in doing it? It's kind of confusing because...
Sorry, I'll answer that one. Every other agenda that I've ever worked with or seen, all the consent agenda items were letters instead of numbers. And last week, when we were switching between, and with the way this council operates by pulling some consent agenda items, whether it's 17 or 11 or 14, if then I'm trying to scramble around to go back. Me personally, it may not affect all of you, but it makes it easy to have it differentiated that the consent agendas are all letters.
Okay.
And just because that way I can look on my iPad or my book here and be able to find
Well,
those.
if that makes it easy for you, Mr. Chair, that's okay, but it makes it difficult for me, that's okay, but
I think we ought to use a Greek alphabet myself, but that's okay.
just add a little bit more confusion.
Well, you can
Thank
see
you.
that I'm working through this agenda and the process, and
That's
after
fine. I just wanted to know the rationale as to why I had to relearn or unlearn a process I've used for 6 years.
well, your
now.
your TPO agenda is exactly the same way. Just
Well,
saying.
it's just not as important to me as this one, and I'm just saying.
Sorry about that. There we go.
But that's all right. That's all right, Mr. Chair. I can adjust, but
I knew you were flexible.
I just wanted to know what was going on. And then I want to talk about the Orange City African American Heritage Festival that's coming up later this month. Are we all set and ready for that?
We are absolutely ready for that. Donna Butler, Community Services Director. So Saturday morning at the festival, you'll recognize the Coleman School for its historic background. But the day before, we're also going to do the Malloy Center in DeLeon Springs. So
day before?
Yes, ma'am. Friday morning. So we'll have both of those back to back. And there's an invitation being created that will be sent out to the public that's from you all, so that the public knows that you all are recognizing these two important historic facilities in our community.
While you're on that, if I may add, Ms. Cusack, that there was a request this morning that they pressure clean some of that area that's kind of in need. If we can ask Mr. Deneen if you can check on that.
We'll look into it.
Okay.
I asked them to come this morning.
They did. They were here.
I was aware that they were coming, and I met them, and they gave me the whole spiel last night and again this morning. So I wanted them to come to present to you as the chair and the council, and hopefully we can get that done, because it's important they have this beautification thing going on there, and we want to be good partners, and if we're going to do this, let's do it right. And so hopefully we can get that done before the 25th of February when they have their
We'll get it done.
festival. That was one of my comments, Mr. Chair. And then I would like to have maybe an update, if not today, at our next meeting as it relates to our internship program, where we are as far as the number that we have, and how are we doing with that program. We still recruiting, and are we still getting good numbers on that internship program? If that
I'll give you an update next
That'd be
next
great.
meeting.
That'd be great. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Ms. Wheeler.
Okay. I would just like consideration for the council and the staff to consider joining Volusia League of Cities for 2000. I think it's really important we're making the effort to show that we are in a new time and we're wanting to work with them. They were utterly thrilled to death that they had 3 members there at their last meeting. And this also, I mean, it's a small thing, but we can also take their ethics training with them free. If we become members, we can also be a part of that. There's just a lot of goodwill, and we do so much goodwill throughout the community. And I think all of our citizens, as I was campaigning, would embrace the fact that we, again, are reaching out to the cities to bring together those municipalities with the county council.
Thank you. And I was going to bring that up at our little workshop, which is coming up in just a bit, so I was going to bring that up as well. Ms. Dennis? Oh, that was it? You finished? Oh.
Amen.
As usual.
Okay, I've got a couple resolutions here, so I don't want to get ahead of anybody here, but first of all, I just have a inquiry too. Are we going to be doing, we didn't last year do a Citizens Academy. Are we doing a Citizens Academy this year?
Yes, we are later this year. I was waiting for the new council to get seated and then see if you had candidates before we started that process.
Well, and the agenda with the Citizens Academy this year, I'd like to see the council be a little more involved, Mr. Manager, in the academy. I think this council steps.
Right, but it's up to the council.
Well, I'm asking, at least on my behalf, I would like to engage more in the Citizens Academy with input to the attendees. I think it's a great program. It's great, and it was missed last year. I do know that. We had some people that had signed up, so good. That's very positive. Thank you. With that, there's one thing. As you know, I'm the representative on the, as is Ms. Wheeler, on the which one are we on? The Central Florida Regional Planning Council, and several agencies have brought this up. You've seen the Dangers by Design report that comes out that puts us, in a not a good ranking for we're number 5 for pedestrian deaths in the metro area. So there is a resolution that the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council is asking for support. It's just a resolution saying we obviously support safety. It's in front of you. It's called Resolution 2017-nothing. It's a supplemental resolution, but it's just a very generic resolution. With your agreement, we need to get this back to them, and so all the counties and the cities and the other organizations are being asked to pass this basic resolution. Are there any? It's standard housekeeping procedure. With that, I'll make a motion. I guess we need a motion, Mr. Eckert. I don't know what to call it because there's nothing behind it, but the resolution 2017 providing Volusia County Council for providing support for pedestrian bicycle safety is a priority. The County of Volusia, and whatever that resolution number is going to be.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Like, sign, signal, no. Motion is carried.
Okay, 2 more small things. One we'll talk about in the workshop. I want to bring back up when we sit down as a council, but you heard Mr. Earhart when he talked about our economic development allude to and commercial aerospace and the opportunity, and especially with the Space Coast and partnering. I will be in D.C. next week with Rick Carl attending the FAA conference with Space Florida. So this is a very real thing. It is on the radar. It's very big, and I'll be talking more about that in our workshop as a discussion item, just to bring everybody up to speed where we are, because this is going to be really big, and I think it's a great issue for all of us. And we will launch something somewhere sometime. The other issue that I have is another resolution that is in front of you. Again, there's no number attached to it. And the impetus for this, what happened this week, we had 2 House bills filed. House Bill 551 in the Florida House, which is a set-aside for recurring $20 million annually to connect properties with on-site sewage treatment and disposal systems to centralized sewer systems. And then we had Representative Santiago file House Bill 2081, providing $1.5 million in funding for Oak Hill and Volusia County's water quality septic replacement. So I have been working with staff, and we have, as a council, supported, obviously, cleaning up the Indian River Lagoon. This is all about water quality. And this dovetails into the water compact and to what we've all agreed on. And I have a copy. I actually printed out a hard copy, the Florida Rural Water Association, in their report back in 2014, and why, it's a terrible word to use, but I guess it's true, the low-hanging fruit is Oak Hill, and the septic conversion down there to sewer. So we have been working with the city of Oak Hill, with the city of Edgewater, and the county, and all the other agencies with this. And now we've, in fact, to the point where the county, we pulled back a bill last week from the county was going to sponsor to support the city of Oak Hill, because I think the smaller cities have a better opportunity of getting the funding from these versus the county. So we didn't want too many bills floating out there. We wanted a common cause, common purpose. We thought the best approach would be is for us to pull back and support the city, as we always do, support our cities, especially our smaller cities. So I think this is a very proactive water quality resolution initiative, and has a great opportunity for success based on how these bills and the support we're getting already. And I know the Senate, I believe Senator Huckel is filing the companion bill in the Senate. So I think we were right on track. And Mr. Rechtenwald, staff has been so wonderful meeting with us in all these conversations. Would you like to expound on that?
Yeah, just Sue, if you go ahead and put the map up. If you'll recall, as you talked about the water compact, the water summits. In fact, there's another water summit, I think next week in the 11th.
The League of Cities is doing
So the original was at the Ocean Center that the county had put on. This map here is a result of that effort, just showing that projects in the Oak Hill area, as Ms. Denny's pointed out, falls right into the plan that we had of identifying areas for septic tank removal and water quality. There was also a article recently, I think in the News Journal. Judy Grimm is our stormwater manager, and she has also been in charge of the assurance plan that we've put together. And so the county really is trying to take a lead on this issue of the Mosquito Lagoon and water quality in that area. So I think that it's very important that the city has picked up on that, and we are, of course, we're a tool in this process because we are the sewer provider in that area. So if they're going to eliminate septic tanks, we would be the one that treats that. So that's where we come in as a partner. But I think it's very significant that the city is taking that lead, and I would support them in any way we can, especially with this resolution.
And with that too, what you can't see here, this is broken down into 5 phases. The completion will be about 13 to 14 million total. Phase 1 is completed, where the grant request for 1.5 million from Oak Hill is for Phase 1A. There's also, we have letters of support already from Burnside Tech, the charter school down there that's partnered actually with NASA as a partner in the STEM school, and we have letters of support from Team Volusia and the CEO Alliance.
Exactly.
Have met with all of them. They are not just a letter of support, they are so squarely behind us and understand this is not just a water quality initiative, but it is an economic development tool that will open up these opportunities that we're referring to when Rob Earhart was up here earlier. So this dovetails with so many initiatives that we have looked at through the years, and with timing being everything, this timing is just. And I want to thank Mayor Doug Gibson for being a strong leader down in the city of Oak Hill, in working with us and working with them and their consultant and the other electeds through this. And this really has been a collaborative approach behind the scenes. We've been having meetings, a lot of meetings, and a lot of research and support. So we're to the point now with the governor supporting cleaning up Lake Okeechobee, which was the impetus for this. And then when they went from Lake Okeechobee, they moved it over to include the Indian River Lagoon as far up as us. So, I mean, it stops somewhere, and we're where it stops. So we have a great opportunity to for this, and that's what I'm asking for, Council, is your support on this. The resolution before you, staff wrote, looking at what has been accomplished this past week. Well, it's come together this past week, everything we've worked on. So we'd like to take this, obviously, and before I can take it to the League of Cities, their water summit. They're aware that this is coming up at Palmer Chiropractic. This will be discussed there. I'm already on the agenda to speak and address to the cities in my district for support in this, in the Southeast Volusia Marketing Initiative, as well as the Chamber of Commerce. So we've positioned ourselves collaboratively to work within the government structures that will support this, and we're just looking forward to success with your support.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
I'm sorry, yes.
Ms. Denny, I support the resolution. The funding source, are we depending a large portion that to be tied to legislative bills that are being presented? And where do we go if we don't get that, if that doesn't?
Mr. Rectorwall, would you like to?
Yes. Well, there are multiple grant programs out there. If you recall, Mr. Ulrich has been very successful over here with our plan expansion and things. And so this is a legislative ask, and this is trying to get some funding going, but we'll continue to try to secure other grant funding. We'll get to a certain point where then we may have to make a decision on loans, and possibly to finish it off, there may have to be some sort of a special assessment district. But what we're going to try to do is work this cost down incrementally as we move the project forward. Right now, we're trying to get design, permitting, and a plan that we can actually sell out there, and that's really what a lot of this money is going to go for, is getting some of that work done. You have to decide what type of system we're going to use. We have to decide, we have to look at the geology of the area. So there's quite a bit of work to do, but we got to start somewhere and get it off the ground. And I would like to say, actually, just pointing out on this map, you mentioned Phase 1A actually is done.
Right.
We have gone down that section, and what you would be looking at now is 1B and 1D.
1D.
Yes, we move
1B and 1D.
Right, as we're adding on, subdivisions and coming down the main highway there.
Right, but we need to clarify something. This is not a commitment of money by Volusia County, number one. Because there's lots of issues in the county. There's a lot of issues on water, sewer, and environment. You got environmental issues, water and sewer issues, which in some cases are the same, in some cases are not. So, but to make sure that we're not looking like we're abandoned in other parts of the county, number one, there's no financial commitment on our part. It's a support to them for trying to get grants. Number two, very important, Oak Hill's taken the initiative.
Exactly.
I can't stress how important that is. They're taking the initiative. They've spent money. They got a consultant. They're actually taking the initiative. Number three, the reality is that if you're going to move forward with this, there is going to be a requirement in the future. They're going to have to find a way to, where they need to, force people to hook to these systems.
That's right.
Now, that sounds easy. That's not as easy as it sounds. But here's the point. Oak Hill recognizes that there's no value in going for these grants if people don't hook to the systems. So, and number four, in Oak Hill's case, they are more distinctly related to water quality than certain other areas may be. Okay? This is more of a, because the nature of it leaking right in the lagoons, and they have some very, very bad septic systems. So that's the only reason why, in a sense, you're highlighting this area over maybe a Pearson or somewhere else, is that they're not the same. There's no money here. And as George said, we'll see where this takes us. We'll see where the design goes. We'll see if we get the grants. And then from there, other things could come out of this. But there's big implications to taking these monies on in terms of making sure people use them. There's no value in putting money into systems that people won't hook to.
And when we say Oak Hill, are you talking the government entity, or are you talking about the citizens in that area and the government entity?
My understanding is it's both at this point, because my understanding is that in the past, that if the citizens didn't want it, the government wouldn't even talk about it. In fact, I think they banned the word sewer system for 5 years. They couldn't even say the words.
They did.
So the point is now their mayor says he would not be able to stay in office and couldn't do this if he didn't have the support of the majority of the people.
Yeah,
Mr. Pat.
That's a wonderful thing, and I think that if, it seems like they're moving in the right direction, and they got their I's dotted and their T's crossed, and I would be strong in support of this resolution. Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Patterson.
Chair.
Yeah, we really wouldn't be doing this if they had back in 1997 not have put in that ban or that thing on, because we had the sewer system and everything in place and ready to go, and they put in that moratorium on it. And that's what my concern is that, you've got a mentality of people out there that I'm finding right now that are starting to say septic tanks aren't bad. You could drink the water that comes right out of a septic tank and without any problems. And I'm going to kid you, this is like the people who don't believe we actually went to the moon years ago. But I hope that Oak Hill knows that they're going to have to literally. It's not going to work if you don't have customers. I think Deltona's got that problem right now with a new sewer plant down there. No customers. I just hope that they know that somehow that city council down there is going to have to put their foot down and say, you will hook up. And it's going to be a war, but it needs to be done. I mean, eventually that's going to get to the point that Oak Hill, that area is an economic driver for fishing. The people that go fishing down there, and they're just going to go someplace else, and they are doing that right now. So I want this to happen. I'm glad that we're at this. I just don't want to suddenly see the public outcry say, no, we don't want to pay the impact fee. We don't want to pay to hook up. I got a septic tank that works perfectly well. That's so. Miss Denny's, you're doing God's work here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to also be in support of this. This is exactly what, when I was on the Volusia League of Cities with them, the water compact, this is the sort of thing that we're talking about. Everybody coming together for one area, pulling out where it's needed the most. And this is an economic driver also. I totally support this. I think this is great. I love to see this plan coming together. And I also thank Oak Hill for all their hard work, and Councilmember Deb, for all your hard work on this, because this is what we're here to do. And it is this cooperation of everybody around, as well as the CEO Alliance and the Team Volusia. Here it is. This is what we're here for. Very, very proud of this initiative.
Yeah, I didn't mean to mark Deb off. I just wanted to have everyone have a chance to weigh in first.
And I hear all of you, but what happened in 1997, this is 2017. So there's a different mindset, and I hear you in all these concerns that you have. We're having discussion when we meet with the electeds down there in the Southeast Volusia Marketing Initiative, as well as with the City of Edgewater. They're at the table too. So this is a regional issue with the two cities, with the county. But it's one of those that when you start these projects and you wonder, do I really want to start the project? Do we really want to have this conversation based on the history? But the future is so bright, especially in Southeast Volusia and this area. When we get this right, when we accomplish this, and as soon as we get that next phase done, well, then that puts us in the loop and in the hopper for success, and we have a history with these grants. It will help open up the rest of this. But we're taking all of that into consideration to protect the citizens of Oak Hill, too, because they cannot. There's no way they can absorb the cost of hookups or the impact fees. Councilwoman Cusack, I know that was your, and it is mine too. And we talk about that at these meetings. So our collective position is to fund as much as we can, if not all of it, through grants, and I think we're in a really good position legislatively at the state of Florida. That doesn't even talk about we haven't even talked about the other sources that I know we're looking at. So this will be a huge win for all of us. And I think what says the most from the county in collaboration in this water compact, to what you referred to here to Councilwoman Wheeler, is that the county was willing to step back and pull back our Senate bills and what we're doing to support the city of Oak Hill. And they want to be in the forefront. They want to be on the lead. So the way that we're looking at this timeline is, again, that I will be presenting to the city of Oak Hill, to the city of Edgewater, and a couple other groups here that we're putting together. So we're working diligently behind the scenes to exercise our due diligence to set them up for success and to get this a win. This will be a big win. This is a marker for everything we've said we believe in water quality. This is it. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and make a motion that we support Resolution 2017 legislative funding request to the state of Florida for $1.5 million by the city of Oak Hill for septic tank removal to improve water quality of the Mosquito Lagoon.
I second it.
I just want to make a couple of comments. I didn't get to weigh in on the discussion before the motion was made. I don't care to make them before or after. I just question whether or not this is not circumventing the compact, which Volusia County is a part of, because if we're going to supersede the compact, there's no need to have a compact. And Volusia County did sign on the water compact. I attended the meeting that day. And if we're going to go out and start picking favorites, Ormond Beach, Ormond by the Sea has a huge issue as well. And I know that they're not leading it there, but the whole purpose of having the compact was so that we could, as a compact, work together. I'm not saying the project's not worthy, because it is, but I wouldn't like to see us, hate's not a good word, I wouldn't like to see us circumventing, because we're the county, and maybe would wind up there anyway, but I just have a fear that we're doing away. And the way the compacts have worked in other areas in South Florida, because the compact is the one that took the issue and the lead and then asked for the support. So I'm just afraid that that's what we're doing, and I'm not against the project at all. I want to make that perfectly clear. I am against the way that we may be perceived or in reality circumventing the function of the compact which we signed. And if you look at the compact and what it says that we will support and set our needs and things aside. But it should be going through the compact, I believe, Ms. Dennis, as opposed to going through to the city of Oak Hill. So I would like to have that looked at. I know you've got it out for a vote. I know you're supporting Oak Hill and their project and that they've come for us. But if they're circumventing the compact as well, then why do we have the compact? And if we can't have a compact that we've signed on to and work together and put the needs of those who request it, and I think that's what we're doing in this instance. But Mr. Patterson, you had a question as well or comment? Oh, sorry. You didn't turn Mr. Patterson off. He was on. Ms. Dennis.
The compact is just a resolution. There's no enforcement. There's no teeth. There's no way to carry anything out. So to say, I'm not willing to wait on a resolution of support from an organization that has no funding ability. Right now, I guess I'm on tilt, because if that's a position we're going to take, then I will probably step away support from anything like that and challenge it in the future, because it is absolutely our responsibility, and I will continue to do so, at least in my district. So if there's a project worthy in your district as council members, I encourage you to engage and work with your cities, work within those organizations. It's what we do. It's what we do. So I'm not going.
But your city is my city.
Exactly, it is. But so what I'm saying, Joyce, is, but if we take a resolution like the water compact, It's just, there's not even original signatures. If I recall right, last time we looked at it, there weren't even original signatures from cities completely on that. So I don't want to get into the weeds on this one because this supports that. And if you go back before the water compact, what this council did with our water quality meeting at the Ocean Center and the goals that we set there and the ordinances, they're actually up in my office. I'd be happy to pull out every ordinance that this county is on record with and the cities are on record with in supporting this. I think there's quite a few of them versus water compact that does not have original signatures on it. That will trump, literally, that's a good one, that will trump just a resolution of support. So I guess I don't want to lose focus on this. Do we support the big picture? Mr. Chair, we do. And I want to continue to do that, but not at the expense of projects that we have been working on to the point, and the proof of it is we have a House bill filed. What House bill or legislation has the water compact even brought forward? There's no agreement. So you have to keep the perspective, and I don't want us to use terms and terminology as a buffer because this is happening there. Well, why isn't it happening there? Here's the challenge. Here's what we do. Work with your cities. Get your ordinances together. Get a sponsor in a House bill and a Senate bill. And my hope is this is the springboard. This is a springboard for going forward to connecting the rest of the systems because it does need to happen. We're all in agreement with that. We are all in agreement with that, but I just don't want to get bogged down with resolutions that have no legislative teeth.
I'll just comment on that. If we don't want to work as a county with the rest of the cities on a compact and an agreement that was signed, it was worked on. I spent all day. We went through that. All of us, those of us that were there. The county should have said we don't want to be a part of a compact.
That's not what's being said. That's not what's being said.
I'm just saying.
That's not what's being said. Do not interpret that. That's not what I said.
Well, if we're not going to agree to work and let the compact work together, that's what we're doing. That may be doing, trying to say we're drawing straws or something like that. But the agreement was. And the compact, I don't know whether, I know we signed it in Ormond Beach and submitted it. I know the Shores signed it. I don't know if the county signed it, the water compact original signature. We did. That's in the weeds that I won't debate because I don't know the answer if all 17 entities signed it. But I believe the county did sign it and if the original signature is there. My point is this. If we're going to be a compact, and the compact was that we were going to work together and support so that we would give up. And this is what we're doing here. We're doing what the compact says. We're giving up and yielding to those where we can get the most good. And we yielded in Ormond. We had projects where we wanted some some grants for sewage, for septic extensions. And we said we would yield when the time came for those projects where they could get the funding. Now, the $20 million is not even there yet. The $20 million is only in a House bill that's supposed to be finished where we'll get part of the, Amendment 2 or Amendment 1 where there's $640 million, and we're trying to get $20 million or access to $20 million for the rest of the state to keep it from going all to South Florida. And I know that's what this is about. But I just would like to see us understand that first of all, I don't like having ordinances presented to us at this time of the meeting. I don't know, I'm not accustomed to it, so it brings me shock where I haven't had a chance to look at anything except it's laid on my desk this morning. I know this may be an emergency situation again, but if the meeting is the 11th for the compact, I would rather see us with a letter of support going forward. The resolution is about the same as a letter of support. I know we have a motion out there, but I'm just saying if we're going to be part of it, we're going to be part of it. And if we're going to yield to it, we're going to yield to it. And to have it come to us at the last item here on today without looking at it, and I've said for months that I would support Oak Hill moving forward, that they need sewer. And I do support that. And just back to my question, Ms. Wheeler.
Yeah, I would just like to make the comment. I understand, Ed, where you're coming from. When I think about this, it is a plan that we were all going to be talking about. And the compact, I was on the committee when that all started. I do think that Oak Hill was one of the ones that we thought about at the very beginning, that it was probably going to be the top priority. I would also like to see this discussed, but didn't you say that they asked you to talk? You're making a presentation or whatever. That's what we're looking for.
This is the city, this is us supporting the city. We can, this is not about, I will be presenting, yes. So, I'm not going to get into detail. Either you support it or you don't at this stage, and I'm not going to say anymore.
Okay, what is, Ms. Cusack?
Call the vote, please.
Before you said that, I had asked Ms. Cusack. Right. You yield.
Go ahead.
The only thing I want to know, if this is something that we're going to be meeting for an open discussion in about 20 minutes or 25, if we can have that discussion, and would it be appropriate then, Ms. Dennis, if we have that discussion and this is brought back for our next meeting with more clarity, and everybody will feel better about it. Do you all think that might be something you want to work with?
This is time sensitive. Remember, our legislative session is going on right now.
Yeah, and this in Tallahassee, not in Volusia.
This is about supporting the two House bills, and they go through committee. So,
have they been a committee assigned yet?
That I don't know, but. To not support this will send a very strong message. That's all I'm going to say. To not support this, why attend meetings and say be a part of this, be a part of that. Here we have two House bills. We have support from cities. We have our staff, my manager, our deputy manager. We have our staff coming up with this, and for us to say, oh yeah, but no, wait, it's not part of. I'm sorry, I can't justify that. I just cannot justify that. So,
okay.
I'm going to leave my motion stand,
Okay.
and that's
Call the vote to call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm going to ask for a vote. Tally us. So we can vote, because I couldn't count. Electronic vote. Yes. This is a vote to call the question. Okey-doke.
Since you can't see it, all in favor of calling the question with one opposition, which is Mr. Kelly.
That was me. Oh, everybody can't see that, huh?
Mr. Kelly, what we've discovered is there was a fluke in the software, and that by the next meeting, it's supposed to be able to see it on all the screens, and I checked, and we'll have it resolved by next meeting.
Okay, thanks. Okay, now we have a question, and it's on the floor. All in favor of voting on the resolution that was presented a few minutes ago, say aye. Aye. I'm going to ask for electronic vote again.
Sure.
This is on the motion, resolution. The motion carries 5-2.
Correct. The motion carries 5-2 with Ms. Cusack and Mr. Kelly opposed.
And I think I'll speak for myself. I'm not voting against the support of Oak Hill. I'm voting on the principle of the water compact, of which the Volusia County is one of the partners. Anything else?
That would be the same reason I thought that we could have more dialogue and get a better, clearer understanding, and to make sure that we're not doing anything that would hurt us as being a part of the alliance. I support it, but I needed to have some more talk about it.
Thank you.
So that's what I did.
And I'm going to bring this up in our discussion and comments, but I'm going to bring up the fact that 2/3 of the meetings that I've been involved in, we've had motions come up in discussion items, and I just don't think that that's the proper way that items as important as this should be handled. Occasionally there can be emergencies, but I'm going to bring that up. I may not get the support. If I don't, I don't. I just. Why not? What?
Well, I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Oh, it's going to be a discussion, but I mean, I may lose. I just think that to carry on, to have information.
Why don't we carry this on at lunch?
We'll carry this on at lunch. Mr. Deneen, any comment?
I have one. No, we're not going to get into that yet, Rick. On that one is, well, I will. Technically, because you did pass this resolution that Ms. Denny's brought forward, technically you need to correct the what we sent to the state. Rick? It's a technicality, but it's one that we need to do.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the council, Rick Carl, Director of Aviation and Economic Resources. You have in your approved agenda, we make sure we follow the letter of the agenda that you actually formally approve. And the one that has been approved by the county council has an ask for a $200,000 for a matching grant for a $400,000 project to design part of this system. So,
And if you remember earlier, what Ms. Denny's had said was that the city of Oak Hill put in for $1.5 million instead of $1.3. They included our $200,000, and it became confusing. So we suggested taking our $200,000 out of the request, so that they could go ahead with the 1.5. What Rick's telling you is we should amend ours formally by you, that you took the 200 off.
So we're no longer asking for.
It's just a technicality. It shows.
It goes into this project, so we're going to withdraw that, but we need your direction.
Didn't that happen? We pulled that though before this one out. I mean, that Senate bill got pulled.
Yeah, but we did. But I need you should just technically say at the meeting that it's withdrawn.
We've taken the action, but to make sure that it's the will of the council.
In other words, assuming that this would happen, we'd let them know. But just technically, you should just say that it's off. That's all.
I guess my question is, the agenda should have been amended at that stage. Maybe that would have stopped a lot of this too.
That's what we did.
Yeah. Okay. So here.
The reason is that there was a call for the House has new rules, and they're requiring bills being filed for each appropriations request. So this happened between the last meeting and now.
Right.
That's why when we're in the legislative mode, sometimes things.
That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to our agenda should have been amended. That's what we're going with.
The first opportunity we've had to do that is what I'm saying.
That's why we should not have done what we just did, because we have
Exactly.
not passed.
But I'm saying we had time this week to have the agenda could have been amended. It has happened before. I'm saying this could have been handled on a technicality with an amended agenda. It could have.
Or we could have had the information in advance of the meeting, and it wouldn't happen.
Could have been amended.
But we didn't. Where we're at now is that to correct the agenda, which was us requesting $200,000 for us, we're going to amend that. Which item is that, Mr. Eckert or Mr. Deneen or someone?
It's not it's in the white paper in your approved agenda.
Okay.
It's one of the things. We just need a motion to remove that.
Will someone make a motion to amend the white paper to remove the $200,000 request?
I'll make the motion.
Motion's made by Ms. Post to remove the $200,000 from the white paper of our request. Is there a second? Second. There is a second. Any discussion? All in favor of removing the $200,000 from the white paper request, which is part of our request to the state legislature, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Opposed?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
The only other thing that I had was,
Is that it, Mr. Patterson?
uh, mi-
Huh? Well, we had, I should have opposed it as well, but I didn't, I guess. I just think that, anyway, I just think the action we just took was not. Mr. Patterson, we're going to, Mr. Patterson, I mean, was anyone else on staff have any comment?
yeah, I
Sorry.
said I had one other comment, and that was that as Mr. Kelly and I received, the state, as you probably noticed, has looked at a program for sand replacement for dune restoration. They've done this before. It's a 50-50 match. What we're communicating with the state in terms of what I think we're liable for and what we can afford is we are going through a program of looking at only those areas that are identified by FEMA where sand dunes were eroded that are critical that cause problems, and especially where they have no armor, which is no seawall. Once those areas are identified, we are working with FEMA. Those areas, even though we never really get into dune restoration because there's lots of issues and it's almost unlimited money for what a lot of people think is sand that gets washed back out. But in cases where FEMA specifically believes there was damage, and they'll pay 75%, the state will pay 12.5%, and we would be responsible for 12.5%. I don't see how we could justify, because we're doing this for other damages in the county, where we could justify not taking that on if FEMA will identify and pay their 75%. So we're doing that. As for the 50-50 match, Mr. Chair, what I'm going to communicate to the state is that, and I think they understand that this makes sense, is that we would be interested in using the 50-50 match on our 12.5%, so that it would now make it 6.25%. And I think we are not going to be alone in that. I also believe that if we do get dune restoration in those areas, I think if it's in the areas that are deemed by FEMA as the ones that were critically damaged, such that they would be eligible for FEMA reimbursement, then I think you can justify why you are putting sand in some places and not others, which would be a nightmare to try to explain if you didn't use FEMA's definition. So to answer the question, what are we doing in terms of the 50-50 match? We're going to put in, we've already let them know that we would be interested in seeing if we get the 50-50 match on the money that we'd have to pay in the areas where FEMA believes that the damage was done and we would qualify for FEMA money. That way I think we protect the citizens, and we also protect the public's tax dollars in those areas where I think it makes sense that we can make the argument that the berm should be put back.
Just to dovetail into that, Senator Hudson's office called me as soon as they got word that they were in committee to request that the request was there. I contacted Mr. Deneen to let him know, because Senator Hudson was concerned. He knew we had the damage as well as Flagler. So we'll do that. And the other thing is, if we are not, even if we get the grant, it's not, we don't have to fund it if we can't fund it. We're not committed to making the match.
Correct. But what they would like is they would like some feel that if we gave you a certain amount, would you be interested?
Right.
What we're communicating to them is in those areas where FEMA is, we would be interested.
Okay. Mr. Patterson?
My turn. I have just been made aware of a bill that's going to be heard in the committee next week. PCB CCS is a subcommittee on careers and competitiveness. And it's going, essentially, it's a 172-page bill, but eliminates Visit Florida, eliminates allows the Florida Sports Council, eliminates Enterprise Florida, Visit Florida. So I think we need to kind of follow that bill, see how, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Speaker.
Who's carrying it?
Speaker.
It's a subcommittee bill. It's a committee bill, proposed committee bill, PCB -17-01. It's going to be heard in committee next week, but it's 172 pages. I haven't had a chance to really look at the whole thing, but it does quite a few things. It gets rid of the film industry sales tax exemptions and a lot of stuff that's the speaker is really messing around with And I think some of you may have seen the request on, that the county had proposed to us. We need to really just kind of watch what's going on with those things. Huh? PCB 17-01. PCB CCS 17-01.
Dr. Lowry.
Yeah, just real quick, something popped up on my email I wanted to share. Over in my district, Pine Ridge High School received Green Power USA Award. This is a competition sponsored by Siemens. Pine Ridge High School is the only team from Volusia County and the only team from the state of Florida to receive a reward like that. And I'm pretty excited about it. I want to share that. Thank you.
Mr. Deneen.
One final comment in addition to what Mr. Patterson said. We really need to factor that in when we have a discussion about economic development, because we are at the verge of some real opportunities, but as the state rise up their funding, then what little money, and I mean little money, that exists is us, and to a certain degree the cities, and so we're really going to need to have a discussion about where we stand, how we're being, what money I have, what authority I have, and how we're going to go about this, because I have a feeling that we are going to get some opportunities. I know we've had some, and I can tell you in every case, they expect some of their risks to be written off, and the way they do that is through us providing infrastructure or whatever. But if the state completely pulls out of the business, I mean, we pale in comparison to the money they can throw at a project. So we're going to probably need to discuss this, especially if that bill goes forward.
Any other comments? At this time, we're going to recess the council meeting. We'll reconvene as soon as we are downstairs in the training room. We'll reconvene the meeting. So at this time, we are recessed.
Mr. Chair, my understanding is that you can adjourn completely from down there.
That's correct. We can adjourn from down there. I talked with the counselor.
We have no one here for public participation.
There was no cards for public participation. So, we're breaking for lunch. And as soon as we